In today's video, I'm going to create another small 72 scale model. Just kidding, it'll be a larger 48 scale model with 2 turrets. Or it could be an insane 35 scale model with 3 turrets, when more than 1 or 2 is not enough. Hello fellow modelers! I got a request to make a crazy M3D model with 3 turrets. I chose a kit made by Takom. It has lovely surface details and textures. I primarily like large rivets that are across the whole surface. Yes, the armor plates were not welded, but riveted, like tanks from World War I. And also the turret has a relatively nice and usable cast texture. The kit has only a few parts, and most of them fits perfectly. Try to use only a small amount of glue, because the rivets are near the seam lines. Some parts have pronounced ejector pin marks and mold lines. Try to remove the most visible with a hobby blade or nail files. You need to remove and glue these small bolts. The best fail is that you need precisely 12 of them. Is it so difficult to include some spare parts? Please, do not use hobby knife for separating. Instead, you can use a razor saw. This way the cut is straight and it is easier not to lose them. The wheels and gears are functional. It is shame that the thumb tracks are not. If you want a gun barrel movable, you need to flatten plastic pins with a hot metal rod. For example, you can use a handle from a metal file. The plastic Browning gun barrels are ugly, so it is appropriate to drill out each hole and modify the shape slightly. The hypodermic needle is suitable for setting the center of the hole. This set of drill bits is for microelectronic boards, and I bought it from eBay for a few dollars. They are photo etch metal parts, primarily are handy covers for lights. I decided to replace plastic handles. Instead, I use copper wires from old conductors. The thumb tracks are nice, but very uniform. Therefore, I want to make a rubber pads abraded and damaged. It will be a lovely effect. I use a metal grinder for making random sketches. There is a lot of residual plastic dust, so what with this? I used another tool, and that is metal polisher. You must only set a low RPM on your electric grinder, otherwise you can destroy plastic parts more than you want. Try to destroy single thumb tracks links when they are still in the sprue. The handling is more manageable. Also, try to remove ejector pin marks from the opposite side. I think the result is impressive and it will be nice detail on the finished model. The thumb tracks fit nicely, and it is easy to assemble them, assuming you didn't follow the manual and add one more link. The plastic towing cable is also nice, but I prefer to throw it away and make a new one from a braided wire. I used only plastic cable eyes and holders. As you can see, the seam lines are on the armor plate's edges, therefore it is essential to fill them with a putty. A good trick is to remove residual putty with a leveling thinner. Some panel lines are soft and incomplete, so it is good to rescribe them with a razor saw. Okay, some parts have a cast rough texture, but I wouldn't say I like it. Therefore, I decided to make a new and more pronounced with a Mr. Surfacer putty. And primarily, I decided to recreate the texture because it was again incomplete. For example, it is missing on the transmission part. Try to avoid filling in serial numbers. It is easy technique. Apply a layer of a putty on the surface and when it's still fresh, make a texture with a synthetic paintbrush or sponge. It seems to me that the model is ready for painting. I decided to make a training camouflage from Fort Knox, so I'm using this forest green and olive drab as a base shade. I ran out of the original aka real color thinner, so I used ordinary isopropyl alcohol as the alternative. It is cheaper and the paint job is nicely smooth. I'm spraying the whole model with a one shade. I only want to cover grey plastic. I always wanted to try color modulation with Vallejo acrylic colors, so this large model could be a good school. I moistened the surface with water to make the effect smoother, and now I'm applying lighter or darker color stains with a sponge. The main reason for this technique is to make the flat, boring surface less uniform. Do not worry, this is not the result. Now I'm smoothing the stains of another layer of olive paint. Okay, now I have some basic color modulation. It looks interesting, but I still prefer post-shading with an airbrush. I am trying to paint the raised and exposed areas with a lighter olive shade. The main reason for this is to create artificial highlights and shades. Only one difference is if you are spraying smooth or sharp edges. You can spray smooth shading with an airbrush freely, because an airbrush makes it automatically. However, it is good to use some template if you want to achieve a sharp contrast. The kit has waterslide decals for US White Stars and tank serial number. It is good to apply under decals layer of a clear varnish, because the decals themselves are glossy. I use chemicals to unify decals with a rough surface texture. Unfortunately, the decals are horrible and very thick. I tried even the strongest decal softener, but without significant success. Consequently, I applied 2 more layers of varnish and smooth them with a sandpaper. Now it remains to paint small details with a paintbrush. I prefer acrylic paints like Vallejo or Revel Aqua. There are also MIG, AK, Life Color or Hataka or so, but that is what I have at home. I'm painting each rivet with a lighter paint because I want them more pronounced. Time consuming? Little bit. A good technique for highlights is dry brush. Now let's make some weathering or battle damage. But still, it was a training version, so try to avoid making some bullet holes or deflected shots, assuming it was not a practice target for shooting range. Anyway, I can make at least some scratches with a sponge. The sponge is good, but it is handy to correct shapes with a paintbrush. And what about some accumulated dust? This is probably too much. I'm spraying on the surface layer of enamel paint. Why enamel? Because you can wipe out the paint with an enamel thinner or white spirit. This way you can make a lovely stains and leaks effect. The dust is lovely, but the model needs more darker contrast, therefore good are few leaks. I use oil paints because you can easily blend them. And also you can use oil paints for shading. I do not know, but the surface still looks very uniform and dull, so I decided for more accumulated dust on the flat areas. If you won't apply dust with a paintbrush, you should moisten the surface with a thinner first. Then the enamel paint will make a nice, soft stains. The surface in 35 scale is large, so it is good to break the surface with mud splatters. It is again enamel paint, so if some dots are more significant than you want it, you can wipe them out with a thinner. The last but not least effect is to polish the metal surface with a metal powder. Primarily tantracks are movable parts, so the edges were nicely polished. I started using water-based acrylic colors more often, because the work with them is more pleasant and faster. I can nicely change the shade of the details only with dirty water. And that is fun. And with these details, we are done. I am glad that I made another 35 scale tank model because you ask for it often. However, you can expect different projects next time. Primarily I want to make more beloved aircraft models and dioramas. It will be interesting indeed. Okay, thank you for watching and see you next time. Here is the free turret monster.